Hey everybody, it's Lisa, aka Wolf and Storm, coming at you live with a brand new video. I know it's been a while, and boy, doesn't this look different. Well, anyway, before we get into it, please help me keep on keeping on. Like, share, subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell. And for early video releases and more insightful commentary, don't forget to hit me up on my Twitter and Patreon pages. Well, without further ado, on with the show. Hey everybody, it's me. Wasn't that weird? Not weird, but I felt like trying something new. I know I have been gone from YouTube world for a while now, and while I was gone, a couple of things happened that I had to address. No health issues or personal things. Everything is fine. It's just that this job I have is exhausting, and it depletes me of energy so much. It's hard for me to get motivated to come in here and do videos. The last one that I did was primarily about Quantum Leap, and I'm not going to go into any more episode reviews of that. You already know what, if you've watched any of the other Quantum Leap review podcasts or videos on YouTube that I've been a part of. I've done a couple that you already know my opinions about and issues with that show thus far. So I'm not going to regurgitate any of that. It's not necessary, and that's not what this video is about. So if you want to hear more about Quantum Leap and all of the problems, you can go over to those videos on YouTube. But for right now, we're going to center on Doctor Who, because that's what this video and this channel is primarily about. So in the last couple of months, I realized something that I didn't even know. When I went when I went onto my computer to take stock of some of my files and kind of do a little bit of spring cleaning and clean up a mess, I realized that my video folder that has all of my elements that I use to make my videos, my backgrounds and my music and things like that, just vanished. I don't know if it was accidentally deleted or what. I searched the whole laptop, the whole drive, and it was absolutely gone. I had a single backup on an external drive, and I knew even going into this before I even plugged it in that it wasn't going to be what I needed, because I've had that external drive for 2 years, and I haven't really touched it in 2 years other than to add a couple of movies to it. That's the only reason I even bought the drive, was that if I wanted to download movies, so I would put it on the external drive since it had much bigger space, and I wouldn't have to use up all my laptop's not infinitesimal space. That's really was only for storage and for a backup just in case something happened like this. But I hadn't touched those particular files in like 2 years. So everything that was in that video folder was 2 years old, and it was mostly when my YouTube channel was, before it was Doctor Who based, it was mostly like 80s child stuff. So I was like, shit, I have to go back and completely remake my intro, my outro, find all the, go back and find all those files that I had saved up, everything that I'd lost. I had to reconstitute somehow. And I have managed to do that, but in doing so, it was almost kind of like a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because that intro that I had used, even though I had tweaked it a couple times here and there, it was mostly the same. I might have added a little bit of color touching and might have updated like the font style, the title, but this time I really wanted to do something different with the background and update it and freshen it a little bit, and also update the outro. So this video will be my premiere of that, the new intro and the new outro. There's some elements that of course are still the same, because if they wouldn't be, it wouldn't be me. But there is some changes, and I also got it into my head, I guess, to try to do this animation thing. Now, I am not an animator by any means. I don't have that kind of skill. I just went on to one of those, easy peasy sites where you can conjure up a avatar of your own making and put it in a video, sort of something easy. And I know that it probably looks really rudimentary, but I'm working on it. Don't flame me. I'm working on it. I'm doing my best. I just thought I would try something different, at least just for that intro part for the housekeeping stuff. Everything else is just going to be me. But for the intro parts, I wouldn't have to keep doing this every time I make a video. I would just have that there and it would, subscribe to me, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you try. So anyway, moving on with the more important stuff. David Tennant news. Well, Doctor Who stuff has been spotty, but we've gotten 3 teasers, 3 very tiny, 10-second teasers that are kind of difficult to decipher. I think based on listening to them that the audio track was run backwards, so deliberately, so we wouldn't be able to understand what was being said, except in a couple instances where we got a few words here and there, like Donna and Gallifrey, simply because they're very unusual words, and even if you run them backwards, you're still going to recognize it. And there was a little bit of coding, like computer coding, that people managed to decipher. And it turned out that coding embedded in the trailer, in those little snippets, gave a date and Eurovision. So apparently the full trailer, the full cinematic 60th anniversary trailer, was going to air opposite of Eurovision in the UK, March 13th? No, sorry, May 13th. So a couple of days ago, we finally got that drop, and it's given us a lot more information. Not too much more, but some things that we already knew, some things that we had speculated on, and confirmation of at least one thing. So and 3 other cool things that we didn't know thus far that we now know. So before I get into the Doctor Who of it all, for David Tennant news, I know the one thing we do know for sure is Good Omens Season 2 has a drop date. Neil Gaiman has finally seen fit to grace us with his presence on the interwebs and has dropped the premiere of Good Omens Season 2 July 28th with a nice, very pretty advertising poster. So, look forward to a review of that when it drops. Other than that, David has been relatively quiet. I think he's kind of letting the Doctor Who stuff speak for itself. I know that he's been in the midst of filming in the UK something totally different. It's some kind of miniseries where it takes place in the 80s. And he's based off a true story, and he kind of plays a character who's like a financier, sort of. It has something very much to do with 80s, Age of Excess, and things like that. It's kind of like a thriller, mystery type thing. But it's also based slightly off true events. Looks interesting. So right now we don't know very, very little about it. We just know that they're in the beginning stages of filming, and more updates on that as they come. He was recently at the BAFTAs this past week. Once again, not nominated. BAFTAs. Bad. He can get awards anywhere else, but you guys just pass him by. I don't get it. This man has literally become a national treasure in the UK. He's even known here in the United States. Or at least he's getting there now. But you do you. Alright, so to the Doctor Who of it all. Okay. what we do know for sure, I'm gonna start with the things we know for certain. It is absolutely confirmed that Neil Patrick Harris, as we suspected for a long time now, is definitely playing the celestial toy maker. Not that that wasn't glaringly obvious before. See, we fans, we can pick out this shit because, we've been around a long time. We've seen it all. So there's that. We also got confirmation of the titles of the 3 specials. So I don't know exactly what's happening in these episodes. We've kind of been able to suss out a general idea of how it starts based on the trailer and the few little things that we see happen. In the trailer, you see that the doctor arrives in that corridor, like behind those shops where they were filming in Camden last year when we saw them film. And that is initially where he spots Donna by accident. He's still trying to figure out why he has this familiar face. He doesn't know. And he gets there and he runs into Donna by accident shopping with her family, and they're in a restaurant and they're eating whatever. And she's there with Sylvia and her daughter Rose and Sean and I think Will. I'm not certain of that. But they're all together and she vaguely thinks he's familiar, but isn't sure why, because she's not supposed to remember. And he's like, oh shit! And that's when he tries to hide behind the boxes, the Christmas gifts or whatever, because he doesn't want her to see his face. And then we quickly segue into, we're thinking an alien ship crash landing, which brings us beep the beep. I personally didn't have Doctor Who comics when I was growing, because in the U.S. and we didn't have access back then. But I do know that Beep the Meep is a very familiar character to long-time Doctor Who fans. I am familiar with the name. I don't know a lot about the species or how meaningful he is to the Doctor Who comics, but I know that he is very familiar to fans. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I guess they're going to be dealing with that and then another alien menace on top of it at the same time. And I guess Una gets called in to deal with it. Something like that. And then the second special, from what we can tell, because the way that the trailer was laid out, the beginning scenes seemed to come from the first special, the middle scenes came from the second special, and the end scenes came from the third. It looks like the second special deals primarily with the celestial toy maker and all this havoc that he's caused, and the Doctor trying to figure out why and what the hell he's doing and how this affects Donna. And then the third one might have something to do with Gallifrey. It's possible because Gallifrey was mentioned. I don't know if the celestial toy maker is messing with that. I would hope not. Because at this point, Gallifrey has been destroyed and brought back, and destroyed and brought back so many times, it doesn't have the same impact that it once did. Speaking of impacts, that's the other thing that there's a lot of fan theories buzzing around about. Some fans think that Donna will get her memory back and she'll be fine. Some people think that she's going to die. Not necessarily because of remembering him, but from something else. But nobody knows for sure. The wild rumor is that she's going to die, but I certainly hope not, because I genuinely love Donna as a person. I would hate to see this happen to her. It's bad enough that all her memories had to be taken from her just to keep her alive. To then kill her off would just be terrible. On the other side of the coin, though, I'm a little worried about how this plotline is going to play out, because the scene at the end of series 4 where he has to take her memories from her to save her life is so powerful and so emotional. To this day, I don't think I could watch that without just breaking down in a fit of tears. Even now, like, what is it? 15 years on, or no, yeah, 15 years on since that, it's still as emotional now as it was then, 15 years ago. And I would hate that. Okay, I know that people want her to remember him again, but you got to think about it like this. If she does, And she gets those memories like, oh, it's fantastic. She remembers that person she was is there again. But it diminishes the emotional impact of that scene and that loss in his life. Because anybody who's watched the show full through knows that after Journey's End, when he had to let Rose go, which was already a deep enough blow as it was, and then to lose Donna on top of it, the only person in his life who he had left who could even remotely keep him sane, to have to lose her and be left with nothing, it was a tremendous blow to him, and he spiraled hard after that. Like, it wasn't long for him after that. He spiraled into a dark place, and it was a lot of really great development for him with the whole Time Lord Victorious storyline, Waters of Mars, and then coming around full circle to End of Time, and realizing who he really was as a person, and that the Doctor means something, and if he was to be that Time Lord Victorious and try to change things, it would do a disservice to his companions and everybody that's ever been in his corner. And that he can't be angry at the way the universe has treated him, that it just is the way it is, and that he is who he is, and it was kind of a acceptance of that. And his regeneration into Matt Smith was him trying to let go of that pain and move on somehow, because if he hadn't, I think he would have lost himself. So getting Donna back, I'm afraid, would diminish that. We've all seen with Moffat's run how, not to, diminish Moffat, because he's a good writer when he wants to be. Showrunner, those two are not the same thing. But everybody knows he had a serious problem with letting his companions go, or really letting anybody go. He would not let his companions die. Like Amy and Rory were taken by the angels, and that should mean they're de facto dead. But they're not. They're living in the past. And we get to hear from them in those little watch-along things. We hear about their nice life and their, in the 30s with their adopted son and all that. Just can't let him go. And then Clara, who literally gets killed by the Raven, and he plucks her out of the space big between her last heartbeats, and lets her live. So she's flying around out there somewhere in a TARDIS with another TARDIS with me in the space between her last heartbeats, because he can't let her die. And then Bill gets converted into a Cyberman, but no. She gets rescued at the last minute by her liquid girlfriend person and made into another liquid person. Even Nardole, who was supposed to have been dead after the Cyberman attack in the Dr. Falls, he's still there, converted into, I think, another liquid person too. Moffat just has a terrible, terrible problem with allowing his companions to have worthy deaths. Emotional moments that will stick with you. There's no stakes left in that if they just come straight back to life in some sort of way. You can't emotionally attach to that if you know that it's not going to go anywhere. It's meaningless. And I would hate to see that happen with Donna, who is such a dear character to my heart. Her whole story, her whole character development, I think is one of the strongest character developments in the history of the show. Before Russell came around, the companions were, with some exceptions like Sarah Jane and Romana, a lot of the characters didn't get as much development as they should have. Because back then everything was focused on the Doctor, Some companions got a little more development than others because they were popular, like Sarah Jane, Romana, and Tegan. But a lot of them kind of got shafted. So when Russell brought the show back, he was the first one to really give the companions meat. He gave them a background, a story, a home, a life, a family. So they were well-rounded people that we could identify with and empathize with and love and come to care about, because you can't you can't get an audience invested if they don't have anything to care about. That was one of the serious problems with Chibnall's run. It's hard to care about the three of them when they don't do anything. They're just kind of there, and they play yes men to the Doctor and just let her do whatever she wants and don't question her ever. You know, or they sit there throwing praise on Yaz for doing the bare minimum, which I guess in their mind is amazing. You know, we only saw her family once. I mean, the closest Chibnall ever got to real character development was with Graham and Ryan, but that storyline didn't go nearly as far as it could have. Season 11 could have been really, really fantastic if they had allowed that whole dynamic between Graham and Ryan to grow. Especially when Ryan's father came back and tried to find a place in his life again. That right there could have been a really great side story, kind of in the vein of Father's Day. But it didn't turn out very well. The whole grief thing with Graham losing Grace in the premiere episode of Series 11, I personally would like to have seen his grief and anger stew over time. Not every companion benefits from being in the Doctor's presence. Sarah Jane could tell you that. I mean, she benefited in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways, her life was also fucked over. I mean, look at Martha. She benefited in a lot of ways, in tremendous ways. But also, look at what she saw her family go through at the hands of the Master. I mean, not everyone comes out of this unscathed. No one's wrong. People aren't wrong when they say that when you touch the Doctor, you get burned. I mean, I didn't particularly care for Madame de Pompadour, but she wasn't wrong, you know. So, I would have liked to have seen Graham turn out very differently than the rest of them. That instead of being, you know, singing her praises, you know, that this grief and anger over what had happened would stew over the course of the season until the very end, where they confront Tim Shaw again. And he and the Doctor get into it one-on-one over what they should do with him. I really... If Chibnall had attempted to develop this just a little bit more, it could have turned out really well and been a really strong story. But that's Chibnall for you. Anyway, back to what I was talking about, because I'm seriously digressing. The point is, I just hope they handle this with care, because I would hate to see Donna's story in any way diminished by taking that emotional impact of that loss away and just giving her memory straight back like it never happened, because it takes the stakes out. It takes the pain away, the heartache, the heartbreak of those scenes. Anyway, I would just hate to see it diminished, you know, by just giving her memory straight back and acting like nothing ever happened. It would take so much away from that powerful scene and everything the Doctor went through as a result. Do I want her to die? Of course not. I love Donna. She's my boo-boo. I love Donna. I would hate for her to lose her life. But I think at the end, I mean, it's obvious that the only reason she's able to not have her head explode is because of whatever the Celestial Toymaker's done. I have to believe that at the end of this, if he defeats the Celestial Toymaker, everything will go back to the way it was and she won't remember. Or maybe it'll just be one of those Donna things where for the first time, instead of missing it, she remembers that it happened, but she doesn't remember him necessarily. Because if he... I would hate to see him have to do a repeat of what he did in Series 4 to have to take those memories away from her. She's earned that. And the way that they've been talking about it, it's like... whatever happened with her it never sat well with him, ever. And I think it's something unfinished. It's a regret that he has always had, that he felt he could never fix. If they want to fix it, I just hope they do it right, so it doesn't diminish what happened in series 4. If you take away too many of those emotional beats, then it's like what some people said when the Doctor and Rose wound up on the beach the second time, and she was asking him, what was the end of that sentence. They felt that it diminished what happened at the end of Doomsday, how emotionally overwrought the two of them were to have been torn apart, and now they had the chance to be together again. But see, it's not quite the same, because even though they found each other again, he was still leaving. If he had taken her with him, which that was personally my wish, but if he had taken her with him, it might have diminished it, but he didn't. He left her with the metacrisis, which made his pain even worse. Because as Julie Gardner is so fond of saying, the Doctor must be in pain. Tragic hero. He can never be happy. He must be alone. Julie Gardner. Well, that's kind of all we know so far from the trailers. I'm sure that as the months go on, we'll get little droplets here and there of more information. But I personally would not expect anything significant until maybe August, September, once it starts getting closer. I am fairly certain the summer months are going to be kind of dry. I mean, this is a big drop that we're getting right now, and I would not expect to get too much more. Knowing Russell, he likes to keep things kind of close to the vest. I know right now Ncuti and Millie are filming for series 15. Or series... I have to get this numbering system correct. Series 14 with the 15th Doctor. We've seen some costume drops so far. A couple of pictures. And I am not sure what to think. I know one of the costume drops was them in 60s getup. She's wearing like a 60s type dress with go-go boots. And he's wearing this weird striped 60s type leisure suit. And it looks like they're filming on Abbey Road, where the Beatles filmed their iconic Abbey Road picture. I think they actually might be going to a Beatles concert. The episode has something to do with the Beatles. That seems kind of interesting. That's a time period that they haven't hit, mostly because, outside of 1969 and blank, but it didn't. The episode itself wasn't really much. It didn't have anything to do with the time period itself. That was tangential to the overall plot of the Angels and getting back to their right time period. But this one is like all about the 60s and the culture and the dress, and he even grows a fro for it. I don't know how he can do that unless he's wearing a wig. Okay. I was a little surprised that he would, go that far, because typically the Doctor, with only very rare instances, does he dress for the time period because he's never felt that he needs to. He'd never cared. There's a couple instances here and there where he might, but very rarely does he even bother. It's never meant any never mind to him. But it seems like now, every time he's in a time period, he's wearing something different. And the second costume drop looked like early 1800s, maybe the teens, 20s, sort of Regency. Millie was wearing a high-waisted dress, and Ncuti was in a full, Regency get-up suit. With hair and a ponytail and everything. So what, does he go grab another wig? No. Okay. But beyond that, Ncuti has actually been seen in a great deal of different outfits. Modern day outfits. which kind of worries me a little bit. I'm not saying the outfits are bad. All the outfits look real good, and he looks good in them. Problem is marketing. The way that this has always been set up, the Doctor in each incarnation is instantly recognizable by how they look and what they wear. So that when you sell the toys and the merchandise and the figurines and the posters, you will instantly recognize within a second which Doctor it is. You can look at this one and you'll instantly know that that's the 10th Doctor. That's David Tennant. You can look at Christopher in his dark jeans and jumper and black leather jacket and instantly know that's the 9th Doctor. Or you can look at the 7th Doctor in his colorful sweater with the questions on it and his umbrella with the question mark and his little hat, and you know that's the 7th Doctor. I mean, each outfit was specifically made to make them recognizable. So, to put their stamp on their iteration of who the Doctor is. So if you got Ncuti showing up in every episode wearing something different, well, that's a problem. Because now you don't have anything that symbolizes your version of the Doctor. How are you going to market that? You're just going to come out with a line of different figures and all the outfits that he wears? If you make a mock-up poster of all the Doctors, how are you going to have him pictured? Which outfit? The key to the Doctor when they regenerate is you have to make them stand out. You have to know by the end of that first episode, that's the Doctor. As much as I didn't like Matt Smith's tweed outfit much, I greatly preferred the purple later on. It was still a standout outfit. And you knew when you saw that tweed coat and that stupid fucking fez and the bow tie that was Matt Smith. You know when you see the velvet frock coat or the punky black boots and the hoodie with the holes in it. That's the 12th Doctor. I mean, they stand out. And yes, I know what you're going to say, but the 12th Doctor had like 3 different colors of frock coat and he had the hoodie, the punk hoodie look and all that stuff. Yes, I know. But all those outfits were kind of in the same general vein of like punk rock grandpa. Okay, they weren't that like far out, and he didn't switch back and forth very often. He started out with the black suit coat and the white shirt all buttoned up here, which is very Peter. This is like very 80s punk. And then series 9, he kind of switched to like the colorful, like the blue red velvet frock coats and the sort of, I guess you guys call it the magician look. And then series 10, when they were trying to get down to basics, all of series 10 was mostly the shirt with the holes in it and the hoodie. But it was those 3 things, and it didn't gravitate back and forth much between them. And no matter which outfit that they put him in on a poster, you will instantly know that that's him. Whereas with Ncuti, every single episode he's wearing, it looks like he's wearing something different. Because I've already seen these pictures. I think they filmed like 4 or 5 episodes so far, and in every one of them, he's wearing something different. How can you establish yourself as, this is my Doctor, if you're a clothes horse? I mean, it is so important, always, in that first episode to establish, this is my Doctor, this is who I am, you're going to remember me, I am the Doctor. If you cannot do that within at least the first 2 episodes, you're done. That was the problem with Jodie. 3 series in, plus specials, and she still had not established who she was as the Doctor. We even gave her extra leeway because, it was the first female person to play the role, and we thought it might take her a little extra time, but 3 series in, plus a series worth of specials, and still, She flip-flopped all over the place and never quite settled into the role. She never seemed to be comfortable in her own skin when she was playing it. One episode she'd be one way, and the other one her ideology would flip and she'd do something the complete opposite. That is why fans could not embrace her as the Doctor, because they didn't know who her Doctor was. She never established it. She never grabbed onto it and made it her own the way the others did. I'm not saying that they did it better because they were males. They just did it better because they were better at it. And they were more well suited to play the part. I'm not saying that Ncuti's not. I think he's going to be great. I just want to make sure that he grabs onto that and is able to say, I am the Doctor, this is me. He's got to do that, or fans will not be able to embrace him. Because they're not going to know, who are you? Who is this Doctor? I have to hope that Russell knows what he's doing. Because I trust. I know Russell has never steered us wrong in the past. And I trust he will not do so now. I know he knows how to develop a character properly. He knows how to make sure that an actor makes the character his own. And he knows how important it is to solidify yourself as the Doctor. He knows the show better than anybody. So I have to believe that he's not going to fuck it up. I'm guessing they're just kind of letting Ncuti do his own thing. I don't know. Maybe he is a clothes horse. Who knows? All I can say is wait and see. After the 3 specials are over in November, Ncuti and Millie will be debuting as the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday in the festive special, which is going back to December, thank you. So, and that is when we will see them for the first time as the Doctor and companion. One small thing that I want to say before I go. In the trailer, the titles were played over 3 different color vortices. And by their look, they look like the old vortices that Russell used to use in from 2005 to 2009. Now, I don't know if that's the ones he's going to end up using in the title sequence in November. It could just be a placeholder for right now, which some people have suggested. But if this is reminiscent of what he's going to do, that would make me so happy. Because I have not really generally been a fan of the intros thus far, ever since Russell left, except for one of the Matt Smith ones where it starts off blue and dark with the lightning and the clouds and then goes into the yellow. I liked that one. Other than that, I haven't really been a fan of the intros much. I didn't think they were very good. And a lot of them, the timing was off and the sound design was crappy. So if we're able to go back to this simple vortex like it was back at the beginning, that made me so happy. So happy. I know people think it's like, why do you want to go back to the same old shit? But, sometimes simple works. Simple just works. Well, anyway, that's pretty much all I have so far as Doctor Who news. Like I said, not a lot has dropped except for the trailer. But when we do get more information, and if I do hear anything more about David's projects, I will be sure to let you guys know. But for right now, that is all from me, guys. See you later. Peace out.
Good night.